Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Have a fun one for you today. We're going to learn how to play One in a Million by Guns N' Roses off the Lies album. So this is 2 9/2 step. So keep that in mind. Those notes will be in the description, but if you just want me to call out, it's just every string down a half step. E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, E flat. All right, and that'll help us get into the lesson. But before we do, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that little notification bell so you know when I release a new video. And I want to say thank you to all the people who become members of this channel. You might see your name pop up in the video itself, just out of appreciation. So I really appreciate it. If you're not a member, please click the join button so you'll help support the channel with a little donation every month. It really helps me keep these things going. All right, and check out my guitar courses. They're at GuitarLessons365.com, a whole guitar academy over there. It's lots of fun. All right, I'll see you there. So let's get started. We're going to start here with just this E major chord. So we have an E major, kind of keeping that 8th note feel going. And then just at this point in the song is the only time they do this. He grabs the this little A note here at the 5th fret of the low E string. And then you take that into this E power chord at the 7th fret of the A string. So 7th fret there on the A, 9th fret on the D with that low E string ringing. So we have this. Alright, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take it down to the D power chord at the 5th fret. And then down to just take the note on the A string and move that down to the 4th fret. So we have 4th fret there on the A and 7th fret on the D. So this. So now when you repeat, it's gonna be the same, except you're gonna kind of skip that little 5th fret note we did on the jumping up to the E power chord. So we're just kind of this. So after you get there, now we're gonna add that C power chord. Alright, so now I forgot to mention how I'm going to be doing this is there's obviously an electric guitar part added over the acoustic guitar part on the original recording. I'm actually not a huge fan of I wish it was just 2 acoustics. I think that would sound better, but who am I to say anything? Anyway, so what I've done, because there's a couple little fills that are things that the electric guitar will add that I think sounds pretty good to go with the riff. So I'll add those to the acoustic. Now you saw me do that at the beginning. On the original acoustic part, we don't do that. It's the electric guitar. So I've just added it to the acoustic part, and then we're going to scrap the electric part. So it sounds really great, just kind of taking those things, putting those things together, and just playing them on acoustic. So it sounds really cool. All right, so let's. So after this intro here, we're gonna go to the probably the main part of the song is the verse. So we're going to start with this A power chord. So they kind of have a standard kind of bluesy maneuver there. Kind of open it. It's the A power chord, and then you're going to move it up to the 4th fret there on the D string with still the open A there. So a couple times there. Then it goes to a C major chord. So he plays the C major, and then what's going to do is add this pinky there at the 3rd fret of the D string, make it a sus4 chord real quick, and then bring it back down to the regular C. from there we go to a G open power chord. So basically what that means is it's a G major chord, the G major chord version that has the 3rd fret there on the B. So you're gonna play that, but you're muting the A string with the bottom of your middle finger. So that is kind of leaning against the A string, so that is muted out. So now all we have are G's and D's, and that makes it a G power chord. So what he does is right before the transition, this is one of those licks that actually happens on electric guitar. There's a little 2 to 0 on the D string. So we have this. I'm just kind of like adding it in the middle of the chord. And then you take it to an F major bar chord. Now, once again, when they originally played this, like the acoustic guitar part is. Sorry about a little bit of buzzing here. This guitar is not set up for this tuning, so bear with me. So there's a little, which sounds really cool. So I'm going to add it to the acoustic guitar part. Now, how you can do that and still keep the F there? So I have that bar there with that F chord, but what I'm doing is just letting the tip of the finger come off the string. And I can still get the rest of the chord, no problem. So that first finger is still holding the B and the high E. And then it goes to the G chord and then back to the A. So and then to start over. So we have this. So that's a long verse too. Just kind of repeats that for quite a while, and then we get to the chorus, which sounds like this. All right, so that is just starts out with a C major chord. Then it goes to that G power chord we talked about. Then to a D chord, D major. And then you're going to go to that little A. That kind of little figure that we did in the verse. So you're one in a million. Probably should have practiced playing this while singing, but I didn't. So oh well. So now it's pretty simple, and then there's a little transition part that comes after the chorus, which is similar to the intro, but looks like this. Back to the verse there. So now this starts with an E major as well. Kind of keep that driving feel about it. But instead of now going up to the E power chord, it just goes up to that D power chord at the 5th fret. And then that little maneuver of taking the next finger down a fret too on the A string. And then what he does is a little bit of a riff. So that goes 7 on the A string, 3 on the low E, and then the open E. So they do that one time there, let that note ring a little bit, and then they just do the riff twice in a row. Kind of faster going through it. So we have this. So after that, it doesn't go back to this E major chord, it just jumps back to the power chord. So at the very end of it, goes there and then just take it back to the power chord before it goes back to the verse there. So so we have that section and it goes back through the same sections as before. So then we make it to the solo, which is over the verse chords. So let me play through the solo for you real quick, and then I'll show it to you phrase by phrase. Can't forget that little ending there. So let's take a look at this solo. It's really cool. So the solo is basically just over the verse. All right, so let's just talk about this first phrase. So it's going to start here at the second fret on the G string. Then slide up the D string to about the 7th fret, and then over to the 5th fret on the G. All right, then we have this. So that's you're gonna basically hammer on 7 to 8, pull back off to 7, and pull up to 5. Then play 8, 7. So this. So we have this. Back to 5, then back to 7. So it just kind of resolves down to that A, just going down the pentatonic. So we have the 5, 7, 7, 5, over to 7 on the D. So we have this. All right, then we have this cool little lick. All right, so that's going to start where we just left off on the 7th fret on the D. Play 5, 7 on the G string, then slide up to the 9th fret there. Then over to the 8th fret on the B, and then the 7th fret on the high E. So kind of go across that E minor arpeggio. So when we get up the high E string, I'm going to hammer on 8, pull back off to 7, over to 10 on the B, 9 on the G, and then slide 8 into 10 on the B. From there we have this. All right, so we have so coming from there, we're gonna have this just kind of a 8, 10 on the high E string, bend, and then back down to the normal 10. Kind of goes in back and forth between those two notes a couple of. And then we have kind of the same lick we did here. That's just hammering on 10 to from 10 to 11, pull back off to 10, down to 8, and then play 10, 8 again. So we have this. Then he does a whole step bend there at the 10th fret, and he just kind of keeps picking it. So it goes from a whole step down to a half step bend and then down to normal. Then down to 10 on the high E. And to the so it goes 10 to 8 down to 10 on the B string. So we have this. And then we end it with the same lick that we ended the previous phrase. That'll hammer on 7, pull back off to hammer on 7 to 8, pull back off to 7, over to 10 on the B, 9 on the G, and then slide 8 to 10. So far we have this. Alright, now here we have kind of the fast lick in the solo, and how we kind of want to get these things down is you want to get the scale pattern underneath your fingers first, because what he's doing is kind of random. It's not like a succinct lick that just kind of, he's just kind of going for it across a certain scale pattern, and he's using kind of certain various types of licks, which I'll kind of talk about a little bit. But let's get the notes down first. So what we have at first is he's using notes from the just 8, 6, and 5 on the B string. I'll talk about the actual part in a second, but we'll just get the kind of the blueprint down of what we're doing. So that first group of notes that you hear him just kind of going through is that 8, 6, 5 on the B to the 7 on the G. So he's kind of using those notes. And then he takes that to the 3 notes on the G string, which is 8, 7, and 5. So he basically turns it into the blues scale there. So basically he's messing around with these first 4 notes first. And then he takes it down to the blues scale on the 3rd string. And then he resolves this down to... Now he's using to the you'll hear it shift to 4, 5, 7 on the G, and using the 7th fret there on the D. All right. So then, as he continues to go down, he uses 7, 5, 3 on the D string. And, you know, he could be going back and grabbing 7, 5, 3 on the A string as well, but he could be doing that. So he's kind of continuing the sequence down to those 3 notes. And then at the very end of the solo, he's going 5, 3 on the A, 5, 3 on the G, on the low E, and then back to that 5th fret there. So it's kind of like this. So what am I doing there? What kind of licks am I doing across those notes? So as long as you're staying within those notes and you're just kind of doing a half kind of legato type picking thing, whatever you do is going to sound pretty close to what he's doing. Because when you hear him play it, if you were to hear him play the same solo, I guarantee you this part he'll never recreate twice. It's kind of one of those things. He might use the same notes, that pattern that we went through, but the actual note for note stuff probably won't stay the same. It's just not that type of a lick. So it does start out with a hammer on 6 to 8, pull back off to 6. And kind of the same thing between 5 and 6. And then, kind of I'll do stuff like that where I'm picking up and then pull off from the top. Sometimes I'll just accentuate that little hammer. Kind of like that. So you'll kind of start it like that. And And then you take that same process to those 3 notes on the G string. It's kind of just going. You remember that lick, that little lick? I kind of like pick the top note and kind of just do it like that. And then I just take the same process that we did here to these notes. And then just work your way down, kind of with the same process. All right, so the idea is just to get there, you know. So, and don't stress yourself out trying to get it note for note, because you're not going to be able to. It's not just one of those type of things. All right, so then we have this. So that starts here on the, it's kind of really got to get the rhythm right here. So that's going to be a 5 on the low E string, 3 on the A, 5, 3. Kind of really digging in there. Then he picks it, bends it up a whole set, and bring it back down. Then you go 3, 5, 3. And here's where we start moving up. So we're going to slide up from 5 to 7 on the A string. And then we're going to pick across like this. So I'm picking 5, 7 on the G, and then just hold a bar at the 5th fret, 5, 7 on the D string, and then play from the first 3 strings a bar at the 5th fret. And just pick across those, let them ring out. So we have this. So when we get to the top note, we're going to let those notes ring. So we gotta pick the top note, then go back down to the B string, and then the 7th fret on the high E, and then I believe twice on the B string. It's kind of like one of those things I'm gonna be playing to kind of feel it. Yeah, kind of. You pick that 7 on the high E string, and then the B string twice, and then the 8th fret on the high E string. Kind of, then that just goes back to hitting it's a little bit different rhythm, hitting the 5th fret there on the B string. Then you slide that up from 8 to 10, pick 10 again, back to 8, and then slide 10 to 12 on the high E, down to 10 on the B string. So we have this. Alright, so as the vocals come back in, there's a few notes. Kind of just from 13, 12, and 10. So 13, 12, 10, and then over to 10 on the B string. Alright, so now after the solo, the only new section that we have to check out is the outro section. And it's very similar to the little turnaround riff we did earlier. This one. Alright, so it's similar, but they do some slight variations on it. So you do hear it played like that as well in the outro. The little piano solo starts going on, but you're going to also hear it played like this. So we have this. So you're going to it's just kind of a mixture of those two ways of playing it. So instead of this, so at the end, so we have this. So that was the original way of playing it. Now we're going to do more of this. That much of it is the same, but instead of going repeating that like that, you can instead play 5-3-0 in the low E. Or you can do the original one. It really sounds like there's a couple of guitars going there, acoustic guitars, and they're both kind of randomly going back and forth. Because sometimes you'll hear this being played along with it. You'll hear basically both notes in there, which you can, if you want, you can do them both. You can basically just go. So I'm just. So I'm all about putting stuff together so you can do it as just one guitar. Because the less people that you have to mess around with, the better, right? Just stay in your room, play guitar by yourself. That's the ideal life. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's a fun track. I know it's pretty controversial too, but you know, whatever. I didn't write it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.